So the phrase, it shall come to pass, is actually in the Bible 120 times. And I found it interesting because I thought to myself, I guess it doesn't really matter how many times we hear a saying. Sometimes we just don't get it, do we? I mean, we go through life every day, and sometimes we can't just say, oh, this too shall pass. We sit there and get hung up in the whole story or whatever's happening. Well, we need to allow ourselves time to let that Bible quote sink in and actually feel what it means to us. And today I hope we can better understand that. But my first question for you today is, do you ever feel as if you keep having things happen to you? The only place God is reigning is, of course, over the guy. And some people, I hear people say, oh, when the bad stuff happens, they say, oh, it comes in threes. They're affirming for themselves that they're going to have three things happen, not just focus on the one. No, we have to add to it. And, when we tend to focus on those bad things, the only thing that we're going to see are bad things, right? Because we start focusing in and putting our vision on bad things. So we have to move beyond that. Sometimes when this happens too, I think we get in this mindset that, oh, this bad thing is happening to me, and poor oh me, I'm the only one that it happens to, and why is this happening to me, and why isn't it happening to other people, like we're wishing other people to be experiencing this thing that we're not happy about, which is not where we want to go as a spiritual being. But we just think that no one else has ever experienced it like we have. Even when we start telling our story, it seems like we start talking about it like this is the only time in the universe this has ever happened, isn't it? And if somebody else jumps in and starts telling their story that is related to your story, you start looking at them like, are you even listening to me? This is not the same story. And yet it could be the same story if somebody else was listening in. And if people kind of just sometimes throw their hands up in the air. But what happens is we tend to get so focused on that we exaggerate it and we turn it into drama zone. And we just make it so huge that we just can't even breathe in that moment. We're just staying focused on that drama or that challenge or whatever we want to call it. And I've seen this in younger people. I know, some of my kids, when one little thing happens, it's like a story for everybody to get on their texting and drama. Oh, so-and-so had this happen, and oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. And before long, everybody's like focused in on how terrible that thing is, rather than seeing anything beyond what that thing is. And that's not where we want to go, is it? We have to take a breath and say, hey, all this is just an experience that is happening, and it shall pass. It shall be okay. We don't have to go to that drama zone. We don't have to exaggerate it. We don't have to see it as something more than what it is. And we sure don't need to include other people in that drama. If it's something that we have blown out of proportion in our own minds, I don't care how terrible it is in that moment. There's always something else that happens that brings in the good. But in that moment, if we've exploded it out of our own minds, we sure don't want to wish it on other people, do we? And even if it was a horrific experience, something horrendous, we don't want to have anybody else experience that. I know we don't, because we're spiritual beings and we wouldn't wish that on anybody. The old saying, we wouldn't wish it on our dog. It's true, we wouldn't. And yet we tell these stories sometimes like that's what we're doing. We're wanting somebody else to hear it or be in it. But we have to just take that breath and know that it's just an unpleasant experience in that moment. So my next question is, do you ever feel that you get used and abused by your family and friends, yet you can't understand why? Yep. Everybody's jumping up on that one. Yes! Yeah. Well, I felt that way in the past too. And it was a real learning experience for me. And I'm sure, as many times as I've said, oh, this too shall pass, I know that I've also jumped back into that same arena of feeling like I'm getting used and abused by my family or friends. But my family, I gave and I gave and I gave, and then I thought, oh no, I can't keep giving. Because the moment I needed one of them to be on my side and help support me or love me or just be there in the moment with me, poof, all of a sudden nobody's around. Everybody avoids me or excludes me. I mean, I have 9 brothers and sisters, and the moment that one time happened, nobody was around. And I was devastated. And I was mad, and I was sad, and I really got depressed even during that time. Because I thought, God, I had done so much for these people. I mean, the list goes on. But I realized in 2 things about that experience. One is that I let them make me feel even worse than what I was feeling in the moment. Because what had happened in that situation was, and here I am telling a sad story, so everybody go, oh. Everybody go, oh, right now. Oh, there you go. So I was going through a divorce, my mom died, and I lost my business. So 3 crazy things were happening, and my family was not around. And let me tell you, I shelled out the bucks over the years, but what I decided was in that moment, not in that moment, but after that moment of my depression, my madness, my sadness, my crying for days, is I thought to myself, they don't know how to be in this other role. I've been the one that's been taking care of everybody, been the one to go to for advice. I've been the strong one. I have been there in every situation. They don't know how to reverse that role. So it's not their fault. It's my own fault for always being the one or thinking I am the one. And the only person that could really have any control over any of this situation was me. And at the time I thought, oh, I'm never going to do a darn thing for them again. Anybody ever say that? Yeah. And how many times have you done it again? Yeah. But even if you chose not to, the power of saying no comes back into your place, and you don't have to feel guilt or shame for saying no. You can empower yourself and say, wow, I let this situation just pass because I took back my own power. And I wasn't trying to put my own self, basically what you do in those situations when you give to the point where you're that mad, is that you put yourself on a pedestal. You think everybody else should just, be grappling at your feet over. And we don't do it consciously, we do it subconsciously. But the minute we switch that thinking, it changes a whole thing for ourselves. If we can realize we don't need them to make us feel better. We have to look at it and say, hey, this shall pass. I might choose next time to go ahead and help them. Or I might choose not to help them. But I'm going to use better judgment this time. I'm not going to make it about an ego thing and everybody coming to me about it. I'm going to make it more about a spiritual thing. Where if I am able and spiritually enlightened to the point where I want to give them $20 for something, then I can do it freely without thinking anything has to come back to me. Because I know the universe is going to supply my needs. I don't have to allow a person that is a giver a taker to try to supply my needs. Does that make sense? But in that moment, I say to myself, hey, it shall pass. Whatever is happening. If I say no, it shall pass. If I say yes, it shall pass. Because I am living in my spiritual self, my spiritual truth, and I know that it'll be okay. Well, that's something. The thing about it is, sometimes you think you get over this stuff, but even me just telling the story right now felt a little bit more was purging out of me when you think that you're okay with it, that you've gotten over this stuff. But so sometimes telling our stories are okay as long as we're not trying to put some pressure on somebody else, because we release some of this stuff. We let it go. My next question is, we all have times when we experience something and it feels as if it is a punch in the gut. Anybody ever have that? Where something happens is terrible. It's not going to be okay. Anybody? Yeah. Well, for me, one of the examples that popped up in my head when I was writing this message was, and some people might think this is silly, but it was in seminary, and I was getting straight A's, And I'm an overachiever. Yes, I am. I want straight A's. Well, all of a sudden, one of my instructors gives me a B on my first paper in his class. And I was like, this paper is an A. This is not a B. So I went in there and I talked to him and I said, I can't believe you gave me a B on this paper. This paper is an A. And he goes, calm down. I tend to do this with people. The first paper they write me, I tend to give them a B because I know this will make them go deeper the next time. And so they can go deeper and excel. And then I'll give you an A. I said, I don't want an A next time. I want an A on this paper right now because I know this paper deserves an A. The next one might not deserve an A, but I know this paper deserved an A. I was so about myself, so ego inflated, and making it all about myself. I couldn't even see beyond what I was doing. And in hindsight, I should have said, excuse me, Francie, you need to step back because you have to have some more courses with this instructor. And this is not the way to push him, you know, on your first class. But I was just like, no. I wasn't even thinking about what would happen in the future. That it'd be okay, that who cares? And you know what, to this day, no one has ever asked me if I got a B in his class. So I don't know why I got so upset. I mean, who cares if you got a B? You know, really, it's so crazy what we do. And all I had to do in that moment when he told me that is just go, okay, crazy philosophy, but it's your class. I could have just easily let it go. Thank goodness I finally did let it go before all my courses were done in seminary, or else I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have been ordained because that ego would have still been coming up and showing up, and they don't ordain you if you act like a fool like that. You know, they just don't. It's a good policy to have, but you know. But anyway, I was glad that I did finally let go of it and that I finally could see that it, you know, it's just a thing. It's just something that could pass. Who cares if you got a B? I know some people probably say, yeah, I would care too. But anyway. So the thing is that, you know, we have to quit making it about our personal self, and we have to look at the idea that God is the fountainhead of all of our good, and that we can tap into that energy all the time. So what about those times when nothing is happening to you right now, but you feel down and sad? You know? We might not be able to pinpoint anything that's wrong in our life right now. You know, you think everything's going fine, but all of a sudden you feel down and sad. You wake up in the morning, you don't want to get up. You wake up in the morning and you feel like, I'd just rather stay in bed. Or you get up, and all day you're like Eeyore, you know. You don't know why. I had days like that every once in a while. I've learned that if I feel that much energy, that I need to just take a break from the world. Because I think a lot of times what happens with us in that moment, when we can't $50. So when we can't pinpoint, you know, what the sadness or the feeling down is about, I think we have taken on the energy of the world. You know, because we are all such spiritual beings. If you believe that you are a spiritual being in a human existence, then your spirituality is ever in that flow of energy. And I don't care if you even know what it is that is out there in the world that is affecting you. I mean, it could be the bees not finding a place to buzz, you know, or whatever. We don't know. But we can take on that energy of the world, and it can be devastating to us. So sometimes we don't have to pinpoint it. All we have to do is say, hey, I need some time. I need a moment to just be in my own self and breathe and pray and meditate. Sometimes doing yard work is the best thing to do. Sometimes just sitting in a room. Sometimes laying in bed with your pillows up around and the blankets all around and taking a little snooze is the best thing to do. But we also have to learn that no matter what feeling we're having inside, that it will pass. That God is in the midst of what all we are doing each and every moment of the day. And all the energy that we feel is just a process we're going through, and it will pass through us with ease and grace, and we can experience something good as a result. So, what kind of energy are we feeding? Oh, are we waking up in the morning with gratitude in our hearts for another day? That was what I just said. The spiritual key, I think I missed a page. Hold on, I did. Darn it. I don't want to miss this one part, though, because it's very powerful. Anyway, let me find out where I'm at, because I don't even know. It doesn't really matter though, does it? The spiritual key in the midst of whatever is going on is to know and to affirm and to say with conviction, it shall come to pass. And that's what's hard for us to do. It's hard for us, and I think that's why it's in the Bible 120 times, is to keep telling us, hey, it's okay. I mean, it's okay if something happens. It's okay if you wreck your car. It shall pass. Maybe it was time to get a new car. You know, you feel sad about something. It's okay. That feeling's going to pass. And something good is going to come out of it as a result. Whatever kind of energy we're feeling is going to go on through. It's not going to stay. It's not going to stay like that. So, thinking about this spiritual key and saying that it'll come to pass is important because, you know, we have to have something that is going to help trigger us and get us back in that mindset of the energy of God moving in and through us. And this is the part that I thought was very important that I wanted to make sure I shared with you, is this next bit. This is actually out of Myrtle Fillmore's book, Myrtle Fillmore's Healing Letters. We have a copy of the audio book out there, but I don't know if we have, I don't think we have any hard copies right now, but it's a great book, and I think they're getting kind of scarce because I tried to look at this page online and I couldn't find it. But it's actually a two-page chapter in her book, and it's called Day and Night Experience, and I love this. This day and night does not mean necessarily the 24 hours of time. It has reference to the daytime of the soul, when it has light and everything seems to be going smoothly, and it can see the evidences that the divine law is working. And to the nighttime of the soul, when a person has gone as far as their own light of his consciousness will take him in a given direction, and when he must turn within and wait for more light. You may not just see how the law of the Lord is working for you, but it is working. Just as surely as the law of growth is operative during the nighttime. The nighttime is necessary to the proper growth and development of plants, just as the daytime and sunlight with their warmth are necessary. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, she writes beautiful words. And that daytime and nighttime of the soul are just stages that we have to go through in order to grow more and be more of who we are as a spiritual being. And it's the part of it that she says we have to experience that downtime, that nighttime, in order to know that we need more light in our soul. We need to regenerate that energy of God within us. That's what we do when we come here and share together in this energy we call church, is the idea that we are regenerating and renewing our spiritual light so that we can shine more brightly and not have so many hits upon us of those dark times when we feel down and sad, or that we feel like, you know, that it's not going to pass. That won't happen as much if we stay in that energy of knowing that we can regenerate that light. Sometimes it's just taking a moment, a simple prayer, taking 5 minutes in meditation. It's amazing how we can regenerate that light within us, that Spirit of God within us, to bring forth more of that truth that we know. And we can live from that energy. Far better energy than that drama and over-exaggerated words that we tend to throw out when something is a challenge or something bad is happening. I don't even know if I'm using air quotes right, but perhaps in those times of struggle, stress, craziness, or challenges, and those times of sadness or depression, there is shaking us up to remind us of our divine connection with God. Because we forget in those moments. We forget that we are connected. We forget that we have that divine energy always moving in and through us. I love this gif that just it's coming out from the person. You know, and that's the truth. We have as much as we need within us. We don't have to have it come in. We have to recharge what is within us and bring it forth. And that is huge. It's so mind-boggling that it's such a simple thing. And all we have to do is affirm, with God all things are possible. And we know that. We have infinite possibilities waiting for us to bring forth all that there is. And whatever doesn't look like that infinite possibilities, just affirm that it shall pass. It shall pass in due time. You know, anything that happens to us, every experience that we have is for our growth, and it's for our spiritual growth. It is not a punishment or a curse, and it doesn't have to come in threes. Please don't say that ever again. It doesn't have to come in threes. Let's say the good's going to come in threes. That's better, isn't it? We have 3 good things happen within an hour, we would be like flying high. But no matter what the challenge is, or no matter what is happening, this is what we need to think about. The challenge or bad thing is what we recognize on a human level. The reward or growth is what happens on a spiritual level. And that's where we want to go. We want to go up with that spiritual enlightenment. And understanding this truth, we can know and affirm, say it with me, it shall come to pass. Thank you for being here today. God bless you.